Hey everybody, my name's Locke Vincent and welcome to Gaming Alchemy, the show where I take a game, break it down into its components, and hopefully show off some other games that you might enjoy. This week, I'm going to be talking about a cool game that I bought on Steam called Reus. And this comes to us from Abbey Games. It's their first game. They're a Dutch studio, and appropriately enough, they've named their game Reus, which is Dutch for giant. In Reus, you play as a god, which is symbolized as a planet, and you control these giants. There's a rock giant, a forest giant, swamp giant, ocean giant. Those four different deities, characters, whatever you want to call them, you use those to build a world. And so it's a god game, it's a world building game, and there's people that will populate the world based on what sort of types of areas you control and what you make. So if you make a nice forest area, you can have people there, worship you after you throw in some animals and berries and that sort of thing. If you complete goals for the humans that are living there, they will give you a person called an ambassador. You do this, it gets more complicated. You also run into some problems because not every world is perfect, of course, and some people will turn on you, some people will attack your villages, and you need to combat them with your gods. And yeah, it kind of goes like that, and you sort of unlock things and build on your planets. Let's break this game down. Let's talk about the first game, which deals with being a god. And we got to look back at the first sort of well-known, well-done god game, Black and White.
You saved our boy! Thank you! Thank you for your mercy!
We praise you! Greetings, we're your conscience. Good and evil, yin and yang, black and white. As part of you, we'll guide you through this world.
Our people will want to worship you.
Alright, so Black and White, brought to us by Lionhead Studios, by none other than the infamous Peter Molyneux, the master, if you want, of these types of games. These, he brought us Populous, these world-building games, these god games, where you play as this deity that has, it's all-knowing, all-powerful, and you want people to worship you. So, in Black and White, you are a hand, and you get to control everything. You cast miracles, and you are providing for the people there, and then they want to worship you. The thing that they threw into Black and White, which is really cool, is that they have this creature that is its own sort of, it's its own mechanism in that it has its own AI. They did a very specific AI gameplay mechanic on it, as it will react to what you do to it. If you pet it, it will, be a benevolent creature and will help people. But if you slap it around and do that sort of thing, it might eat somebody and then go for a nap and not really listen to you. So it's kind of like taking care of a pet, but you're a god, and that pet has an effect on these people. And the pet's huge, like, compared to the people. So that was really cool. In Reus, it's the same thing with these creatures, or with the giants. Like, they're huge, and you're obviously supposed to help the people because that's how you proceed. That's where the difference lies in Reus and Black and White. Black and White, you had this choice to be evil or good, whereas in Reus, you want to progress. You're not really doing evil things. Just watching that AI sort of evolve into something that, you had an impact on that. You imprinted on that creature, and it carried out its duties. Very different in Reus, in that you are just, the giants listen to you. They carry out your orders because you don't really have direct control. You are just this sort of omnipotent, planet that the people live on. So yeah, Black and White, the first god game that, shares many similarities with Reus. Reus, you have these four different gods, and it's cool. There is a ton of different creatures in Black and White, but they whittled that down in Reus just to 4. So that's about it for Black and White. Let's swap over, change gears to the next part of the breakdown, in which we're going to talk about world building, and I'm going to break this down into Spore. Alright, so Spore, the game from Maxis, designed by Will Wright, that takes you through the stages of life, from cell stage all the way to the intergalactic space stage. And this was first and foremost a simulation game, but in those later stages you did a lot of world building, especially from the tribal stage onwards. You went tribal to city to space. In the space stage, you could manipulate life, you could manipulate planets, do tons of different mixing and matching with creatures. It was sort of a god game in itself, but you played as a single creature, which is really neat. The terraforming aspects of Spore were really overlooked, in that you could totally change a planet into something, from a rocky planet to a beautiful, lush rainforest planet. But the what I want to get across is that the terraforming and sort of the changes in the world and that world building, that is used in Reus as well, and that's why I broke it down into Spore, because in Reus you are using the gods. Each of the gods have a different power, like the the giants, not the gods, but the rock giant can make mountainous ranges, and then from the mountainous ranges you'll get some deserts, and that creates a different ecosystem than, say, the forest giant that will bring up forests and trees, that is beside a lake. And even on one single little planet, it is very interesting to see the different, biospheres and ecosystems interact. And there are stipulations on how you can build worlds in Reus. You need, water or a swamp to help things grow in the forest. If there's no water beside a mountain, it's going to be a desert, and you're going to get different outcomes from that. It's cool to experiment and see what you can make with these different giants. Spore, it was more of a sandbox, kind of do whatever you want. There were missions that you wanted to accomplish, like capture this creature, destroy this thing, change this world. Reus, you always have an objective. There is a sandbox mode, but you always want to be completing your objective, because there's sometimes a timer. You run out of time, you gotta start over. That's the part of the repetition and starting over and unlocking new stuff. But yeah, Spore is a great game. Reus uses a lot of cool stuff from that, and coming together with two different, a god game and a world building game in this nice 2D space, it's really neat. One of the first things you'll see in Reus is the art style, and I really like this 2D art style. Both Black and White and Spore were 3D. Reus dials it back into 2D. So that's about it for the breakdown. Let's wrap things up after this break. Alright, so that is Reus. It is a two-dimensional god game from Abbey Games. You control these giants. It's got a ton of unlocks. It's got a bunch of... Oh, I didn't talk about the combos. The combos you can do with different gods are really neat. You cast a spell with a tree god, you upgrade that sort of plant or animal with the swamp god, it turns into something different. You can do all these different combos with the 4 different giants. It's really neat to see those sort of... And you need to do those to finish different puzzles or different levels. It does feel like a puzzle game at times, because you need to know the different combinations to get a particular plant or finish a particular building. Finally, I just think Reus is a really refreshing take on this genre. There aren't a ton of games like this out there. It's only $10 on Steam. You can pick that up. I highly recommend this game because it takes the best from both worlds of Black and White and Spore and distills it into something really digestible. So, Reus from Abbey Games, definitely recommend that. That's the breakdown. Go check it out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.